Hello and welcome to another workshop here at Point of Life, a space to remember who you are, a space where we distill metaphysical, mystical teachings into everyday wisdom without bypassing the current state of our world. I'm your host, friend, guide, companion, modern day mystic, intuitively led, heart-centered individual, Christine. Thanks so much for being here. I love playing in the realm of what's possible. I can see what's possible, both for our individual life, for the collective, for all living beings and organisms of the planet and the planet itself. But I can't go there if I'm not willing to speak to the darkness, to the roots, the root causes, or the root of the root causes that are literally standing in the way of sharing our unique essence with the world. And if you are here, chances are you are like me and you desire to make an impact on the world. You desire to end suffering in all its forms. And you are also very aware of the ignorance that resides within our collective consciousness. And you are here to disrupt that. So thanks so much for being here. In this workshop, we're diving into capitalism, not only as the economic system that's literally running the show, but how it's conditioned us. I'd like to explore our relationship with security and safety. I love to explore how we're giving our power away, the insidious ways the system has indoctrinated us into getting caught up in shame, getting caught up in guilt, literally energetic anchors, and not anchor in in the way that's supportive, an anchor that's literally stopping us from moving into aligned action. How it influences our mindset, right? We're getting down and dirty here. That's what we're here to do. How it literally shapes what we think, how we feel or refuse to feel. What story are we telling? How are we speaking to ourselves? How are we speaking about others? How are we using our words with intention? How it influences, like I said, if we take aligned action, or how it influences us in resisting and not taking action on what's deeply meaningful to us. The system itself, something like capitalism, is a system. And what shapes that system is consciousness, is what we contribute to it. It's the people, it's us. And so the systems won't change unless we do. Now, this is one perspective. This is where I feel called to go. The unseen forces that shape reality. And that's where we're going today. So thanks for joining me on this ride, and let me know if at any point you have any questions or comments. Let me know, because I don't want to be here talking to myself. So capitalism is, like I said, it's not only an economic system, but it's literally shaping our mindset and how we show up. We've been conditioned to believe that time equals money because we have to use our time in order to make money, because money is the means of which we survive. So we exchange our time for money. So that means time equals money. Capitalism has influenced us and conditioned us to believe that productivity equals worth, that the more we produce, the more valuable we are. It has also influenced us to believe that money equals survival. So we exchange time for money as a means of survival, because our survival as individual manifestations of life, as physical forms, as separate beings, as ego, rely on food, shelter, water, and rely on love, safety, security, belonging, community. And so alone, when we examine that capitalism as a system means we exchange our time for money. So many of us are exchanging our time for doing things or contributing to things that don't light us up, i.e., are not in alignment with our unique essence, our unique contribution. Because here's what I'm saying here. Each one of us are born with a unique blueprint, a set of skills and gifts and unique essence, and how that shows up in the world, how it desires to be expressed. And in this world, because we have to exchange our time for money as a means of survival, we end up burying our authentic truth. And so for some of us, we are beginning to allow ourselves to create in service of that self-expression. And because money is tied to survival, Survival being rooted in our ego, rooted in our physical self. And because we are identified as separate as a physical self, only because we have been severed from our multidimensional nature, then it keeps us stuck in a loop. It keeps us trapped in scarcity and survival. That's why I say, what is our relationship with security and safety? What is our relationship with time? What is our relationship with money? Do you see the loop it creates? Especially the piece that we are conditioned to believe we are separate. And part of the mystical work is to remember our interconnectedness, to remember the unseen forces that shape reality. Unseen forces. Let's get practical as possible. What we think, what we say, how resistant we are to emotions, or how we carry shame or internalize other people's stuff. That's what I'm speaking to, the unseen forces. Literally within our own vessel, and how that vessel is contributing to the world at large. This creates a feedback loop of urgency, fear, and self-doubt. The intention here is to unpack the psychological imprint of capitalism and always begin again and again and again, reclaiming our intrinsic power as conscious creators, as conscious co-creators, creative worlds, creating what's possible by disrupting this fear-based loop. This is a process of remembering, returning to our wholeness. We spoke about the root of the root, right? The root of who you are. That's why all spiritual texts point to going inside. The inner world is our point of creation. We are redefining prosperity on our own terms, success on our own terms, worthiness on our own terms. Anytime I'm speaking to this work, what I'm doing is creating a container for you to share your unique interpretation of it. What does it mean for you? Because that's what matters. Scarcity doesn't start with money. It starts with time. What capitalism does, it keeps us in this fear-based loop and keeps us from simply existing. It keeps us from simply existing, from being so immersed within this fascinating experience of the physical world, and blinds us from the privilege to be here. Capitalism extorts our wiring of living in survival because I said the physical self, the ego, is primal. The main tenets that it needs to survive, capitalism uses to exploit these basic primal needs. We start to believe money is safety, security, and love. So the threat of losing money is the threat of death. That a lot of people are panicking. A lot of people's 401ks are tethered to the stock market. And it's currently tanking this week. Tanking, what an interesting word. And this is evoking fear and powerlessness because we need money to survive. And also because we identify so heavily with survival. It's our whole world. The system keeps us locked in fear and performance. That perhaps for a moment we can step into ourselves and accept what is as a manifestation of the action steps we have taken so far to get here. And it's important for more of us to take responsibility, not only for our individual life, but for human collective consciousness. That when I speak of this, I'm not only thinking about Christine in this one lifetime. I'm speaking to my lineage, I'm speaking to my ancestors, I'm speaking to all the contributing factors that led us here. And I'm also thinking 7 generations from now. That if we look at the current state of our world, it's much easier to live in apathy, to believing there is no pathway through. But we can transcend the bounds of time. We can come out of ourselves for a moment. It's like we are reinfused with hope. And hope is more cognitive than it is an emotion. Like it's the action steps we can take in service of all that has led us here and all that is possible from here. With capitalism, somewhere along the way, we were taught that our worth equals what we produce. And in the realm of personal growth, spiritual awakening, I found many people who are seeing their fear-based habits, perceptual habits of people-pleasing, or self-sabotage, or fear of what other people think. That what I hope to do through this content is to say, yes, those are all operating in ways. Self-sabotage, I can unpack that a bit in another time. But the ways in which we hold ourselves back, or moments where we feel stuck, is not our fault. Like, to hold space for seeing how we operate and what's going on within our inner world and how it's playing with our outer world. And to notice how shame, to believe something is inherently wrong with us, is the root of the root. And that shame or that guilt that's weighing us down, that's creating stuck energy, is the system itself and not who we are. It's specifically designed that way. Telling you again, down and dirty here. Like, or let's at least play with that being true. The hustle loop. We hustle for our worth because we think worth is how much we produce. So we hustle for it. Because we live in time and space. There's so much you could do in any given moment, right? Any specific day. There's so much you actually can produce. Imagine how already that's limiting, because we are identified with time, which is a construct, but we're identified as it. Identify as opposed to using it. That we think more is better, right? It's because our worth is tied to something out there, right? Because we're using time to produce more. It literally perpetuates the hustle mindset. Then we fear losing. So we work so hard to perhaps build a relationship. We work so hard in a specific job. We work so hard at creative pursuits that we have. And if we are tied or attached to that, then we are the fear of losing that, then we think we are losing ourselves. We question our value. Anyone else suffer from doubt? It's like my leading energy that's continuing to like push me is doubt. Constantly questioning my value. And it's a journey, and I'm very vocal about that. And in my last essay here on Point of Life, titled Burn Brighter, I openly shared my vulnerability, as in a journal entry I had, and I was moving through a really deep transit of honoring the aspects of me that started this purpose-driven path. Purpose-driven as in sharing my skills and my gifts with the world. How much I was buried in unworthiness. So much that it was unconscious. And how I've carried shame around not doing enough. And it was a moment of release and loving that version of me, perhaps, that leapt despite the amount of doubt she was grappling with. We end up performing to belong because our root needs is community. Like, we are communal beings, we are relational beings, and belonging is primal. And so because of capitalism, because of the system, we end up performing, producing for the sake of belonging. But if we can reverse that and instead use our time as a tool in exchange for our skill set, our gifts, our unique essence, and allow money to be the exchange of that, we are taking our power back. That money currently is the exchange of our unique essence, as opposed to money is the exchange for time, being identified with time, perhaps moving in directions, doing work that's misaligned with our integrity, giving our power away. See the difference? And then we repeat that over again. And it creates the cycle. It reinforces the cycle that we uphold the very system that exploits us. By not becoming aware of how we are operating, like I said, our mindset, our conditioning, if we don't become aware, like, put 2 lines into there. Consciousness is the light. If we are unaware of how this shows up, we are literally perpetuating the very same thing we are here to transform. Capitalism thrives when we forget we're already whole. But imagine the pushback when we step into our truth, when we remember our power, when we move in ways that are in alignment with our integrity and our values. That's literally a pushback. It's a radical act to transcend shame, to move through guilt is a radical act. To see doubt when it arrives and offer space and love for the aspects of who we are that are scared to be seen. To hold space for it all is a radical act. What we've believed about time, money, and worth is never a reflection of who we are. It's just simply where we're operating from, what we've been conditioned to believe. And that conditioning is rooted in a system that by nature is self-destructive. And the reminder here is that you are not broken. You were never behind. A lot of people I work with, or I've seen this in my personal life, or even those in my inner circle who are desire to make meaningful changes, is to sometimes fall into this perception that we are falling behind. But that very perception is what blocks us. And that you don't need to earn your right to exist. You are already whole and worthy and full of light. Our work together to disrupt the ways that stand in the way of that. Prosperity at its core is not how much you can produce. It's how deeply you can live in integrity, in joy, in connection, and in devotion to your authentic contribution. And if you're in a phase where contributing is too much right now, rest, recharge, regulate your nervous system. Spend your free time in nature. Calibrate that energy. And when you're ready, we're waiting for you. What happens when we remember our source? What happens when we can transcend the limitations of time and space by being so immersed within it? By understanding our innate privilege to exist is connection with our source. So may you remember what is yours to hold, the vision you see for yourself and the world. And release, let go, surrender to what no longer serves who you are now and who you are becoming. May you trust in your natural rhythm. May you rest without guilt. And may you create and move and take action without shame. And may you embrace your authentic essence. Because that's what the world needs right now. Let me know how this workshop landed for you. And if you'd like to collaborate, I have a BU coaching program where I hold space for people like us who are navigating the trenches of those root causes that stand in the way of allowing for what's possible, both for our individual life and the life we are experiencing as a whole. I am here. I'm willing to listen and would love your contribution to this space. So comment, like, let me know what's saying for you. Let me know what you're working through. But above all else, I appreciate your presence. Till next time, my friend, be kind, stay weird, and remember who you are.